So we are what we think, or we create what we think.
To a certain degree, yes. I do believe that the power of the mind, that there is something to that, but not so much so to rule out, anything that would be contrary to Scripture.
John, have you ever seen a movie called At Play in the Fields of the Lord?
No, I have not.
No, huh? It was if you ever get the opportunity, go rent it and see it and give me your reaction. It's about some missionaries that go down into the Amazon, and they encounter a tribe that, of course, has never met modern man before, and they have a lot of things they believe in which don't include the God we know.
Mm-hmm.
And so they begin to try to change them. What they do in the end is utterly destroy them, bringing disease, flu, things that this tribe has never encountered before, and so they end up killing them, and toward the end they find out they really didn't convert them anyway.
Mm.
Just rice and trinkets and toys, and for whatever reason, the tribes people would, cotton to these things and want them, of course, and so they just sort of put on a face and went through the ritual, as it were, but they didn't believe a thing, and then the poor people in the end ended up dying, I think, of disease brought in. How do you feel about that kind of evangelism?
I think that they went about it all wrong.
What's the right way?
Just as an initial reaction, I would say that as a missionary, they went about it all wrong. When you're initiating first contact with a people that have never heard about the Lord, they need to know very fundamental things in such a way that, that it won't destroy them, obviously. That's not God's way of doing things. God brings salvation. He doesn't bring destruction.
Oh, I don't know, John. There's an awful lot of wars going on, and a lot of those wars...
Well, a lot of wars go on in the name of religion, but...
Name of God.
Barely have anything to do with God.
Yeah, but every side, even Saddam Hussein, you remember when he talked about the mother of all battles and everything? It was God on his side.
Well, consider that Saddam Hussein is a Muslim, and the basis of the Muslim religion is war. That is not the basis of what Christ taught. Christ taught love your enemies. Mm-hmm. I don't see how you can go and destroy a people when you believe that you should love your enemies.
Yeah, the Japanese were mainly Buddhists. They're thought to be pretty peaceful, but, there was Pearl Harbor and all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot of destruction done in the name of...
That's true, and I think that's because humanity is involved. As long as you're going to have people, you're going to have mistakes. You're going to have things that just are not gone right. And it's a learning experience, especially for like a missionary that's in a situation like that. Man, I really have a heart for a person like that, because that's a tough job. You see these people, and your heart cries out for them, and you want them to know that God actually came to earth as a human being and showed himself to humanity as a being who loves us and who's reaching out to us, and yet, how do you do that without, disrupting everything that's part of their life? Be a very, very difficult task.
John, what's you know what astral projection is, right?
Yeah.
The ability of some people to leave their bodies.
Mm-hmm.
I've done it once, John.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Did you? You heard about it. Well, it did happen to me. It was brief. It was, I didn't volunteer for it. I didn't try to make it happen. It just happened.
Mm-hmm.
And others are able to leave their body as a practice. Yeah. Now, what is a person doing when they're doing that? I never... Where in the Bible is it covered that you can separate your soul from your body on a temporary basis?
Okay. Genesis 11 speaks about a time when all the people in the world spoke one language. And at that time it says that they decided to gather together and build this big tower. I assume it was a temple where they had their worship and religious practices.
Mm-hmm.
And then Scripture says that they were reaching to the heavens, and they were obtaining so much knowledge from this activity surrounding this tower that God actually came down and intervened. And this is the only time in the history of humanity where God has come down and said, man is obtaining too much knowledge, I got to put an end to it. Now, I'm the only one so far that I know of that has come up with this bizarre theory, but I think that what they were doing is that during their rituals and stuff, they were taking a bunch of different types of drugs, which are always involved in different rituals and ancient religions.
Mm-hmm.
They discovered a side effect. They could leave their bodies. When they had that happen to them, they decided, wow, well, that was fantastic. So they incorporated it into their practice. Then they began they found out they could go out into outer space, and they were not hindered.
That's right.
And they were able to travel to other worlds and even see other worlds.
That's correct.
That's when they crossed the line, because that's when it would have become possible for them to travel into a glorified realm and even corrupt that realm, just as Satan corrupted Earth.
That's also correct.
So God put an end to that. But before they were stopped, I imagine they were obviously collecting information about stars, how the stars were positioned, where they went last time, so that they can continue.
In other words, they were learning too much.
This is where astrology comes from. And the fact that they attributed beings to stars is obvious. They saw beings there at these other planets, so they attributed beings to the stars. Oh. But they were actually in the heavens, because it says they were reaching into the heavens, and nothing could be withheld from them.
Yeah, at the higher levels, there are people who can claim today they can do that.
Mm-hmm. And see, it's coming back. That ancient knowledge is coming back. And when you look in Scripture, you see all kinds of information about sorcery and magic, which I think, incidentally, all comes from astral projection. Astral projection is like a key. It unlocks that ability within the mind and within the spirit.
So it's a very dangerous thing from your point of view, right?
It is very dangerous.
Anyway, listen, John, your book, Aliens in the Bible, is actually on the net, right?
Yes, it is.
So, in other words, this is not a book someone has to go buy?
They can buy it if they want to read it in paper.
And if you have a computer, you actually are giving it to people for free.
Yeah, they can go there and read it for free. Yeah.
What made you do that?
God.
God,
you know,
good answer, I
people
guess.
are going to say that I'm nuts, and I get people telling me I'm nuts because I believe God communicates things to me, but I think if they're going to say that, they're going to have to categorize every Christian into that same boat, because God speaks to me, and God speaks to anybody that says they have a relationship with Jesus. And I believe that God conveyed that to me, because I don't see how else I could do anything so nuts.
So God said, put it on the net.
For free.
For free.
That's right.
What do you think about artificial intelligence eventually attaining virtual human abilities? In other words, the recognition of self, that moment when we get a processor and storage
Self-awareness.
Self-awareness, that's right.
Yes, I have a chapter devoted to artificial intelligence.
Yes.
And when you read in Revelation 13:11 through 18, you find this beast, this being, whatever it is, evil,
yes,
demands of humanity to create another being that is a sentient life form. So you're talking about a living being that is alive, that is man-made. To me, that is artificial intelligence. And what does this being do as soon as it is in place? It establishes world-dominating power, establishes a global economic system, something that I think the Internet is geared right up for, and then there's a mark that it establishes, like a global tracking system, in order to integrate people into this.
Coming up on that now, you know.
Into this new consciousness. I believe that mark will be revolutionary computer technology.
And you're using this same eventual mark to get your word out, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Isn't that
yeah.
interesting?
The Internet.
The Internet.
Isn't that interesting? All right, listen, you have been a fabulous guest. John, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me on.
I hope you sell lots of books and people go to the Internet and read away.
Okay, God bless you. I'll be praying for you.
I need it. Thank you. Good night.
You're listening to Art Bell, Somewhere in Time on Premier Radio Networks. Tonight, an encore presentation of Coast to Coast AM from March 23rd, 2000.